Welcome back to Mind and Money. My name is Val, and I am a financial planner.
And I'm Sherry, a financial coach. And today we are going to talk about managing money for ADHD entrepreneurs because it is an area that can be very overwhelming and daunting. And I could probably come up with a multitude of words to describe it. And it can often lead to removing yourself from self-employment and going back into a traditional working for somebody else as an employee because you don't have those systems set up. So today we are going to talk about those systems and how to get them set up in your business.
And as someone that left the employee role and went self-employed without a plan, I'm of split mind on this one because part of me is like, I wish I would have had more of a plan. But then the other side of me wonders that if I put more of a plan to it, would my, not impulsive decision, but like, would it have prevented me from leaving the bank and stayed where I was comfortable? But I do wish that I had put more thought into it. It may not have prolonged me leaving, but it would have created more confidence in where I was jumping to.
Yeah, and more stability when you took the leap. And my experience is that the sooner an entrepreneur can put these systems or a similar system that works for you into place, the better off you will be. Because if you do it from the jump, when you start as an entrepreneur or being self-employed, you are going to get ahead of the game when it comes to taxes specifically, because tax debt can be very overwhelming for an entrepreneur, especially if you are in a career or profession that is a higher earning out of the gate. So not something that you necessarily have to build up. So a lot of careers like an esthetician or a hairstylist, massage therapist, these are often careers that you can come out of the gate making hundreds of dollars an hour, depending on your profession and how you're pricing. So just to put it into comparison, I have a self-employed client who was working with me when she started self-employment. So from the get-go, she actually worked with me years ago, and we reconnected just before she went into full-time self-employment. And the last time that I saw her, we were talking about how much money she had saved for taxes in her salary account, being able to still travel and do the things that she enjoyed. So when you look at the flip side, somebody who's been in a high earning self-employed career for a couple of years and has been saving for taxes can have 5 figures, maybe more, depending on the earning potential of tax debt to the government. And that when you're behind the 8 ball, yes, it's possible to pivot and catch up. It's just more work and more effort and a bit longer of a journey to get caught up on that path.
Yeah, it's easier to build from the ground up versus starting in the hole and then having to fill in the hole and then build up.
It's a good analogy.
I'm just like very visual human. And when it comes to having the plan in place, I really wish this was a crash course that even coming through when my schooling, it was very geared towards you went to the bank or you went self-employed. I went to the bank and then I went self-employed, but I wish at like that finish line of the massage therapist or the financial services, they had a day and they said, if you're going to potentially start your own business, come see us. Like, let's learn about this. Let's go over this because here's what we should do. And part of me connecting with Sherry was a piece of that. Like, yes, I am a planner and I work with my numbers, but I was not a business owner. I've never trained to be a business owner. So when I went fully self-employed, there was a lot of, oh my gosh, holy crap, this is a lot coming at me. How do I organize this? I can organize a budget and I can organize investments and making the right moves and that. But when it came to my income, now I was fully responsible for it. So the system, the process, huge, huge.
And the benefit of this system is it makes your life so much simpler because it's all about percentages and you're not making like month to month, day to day decisions. Because without this system, what happens a lot is Your income is going to vary month to month, week to week, day to day when you were self-employed. And this looks different for everybody, from a massage therapist who is working X number of days a week and only earning income during those days, to somebody like myself as a coach who the clients that I see consistently, regularly, I'm billing them once a month. But what happens is, without the system, is that your spending in your business and in your personal life varies significantly and ebbs and flows with your business income, which often leads to high income month, high spending, no reserves left over, low income month. Holy crap, you're scraping by in your business, nickel and diming all of your expenses, and the same on your personal side, and feeling that scarcity. And when you're self-employed and you feel that scarcity, the people around you feel it too. So if you are
Absolutely
somebody who has a conversation with a client prior to working together, you're going to put out those vibes of scarcity. They're going to feel that, and then that's going to create that lower income for maybe several more months.
And I've worked with clients that have worked with other financial planners or advisors or insurance sales reps, if you will. And they're like, it felt very pushy. Like it felt very, and I'm like, that is the last thing we want as an industry, as professionals, like helping other people, is for them to feel like, ugh. And sometimes that energy comes with different professionals in those situations where they're like, well, I need the money, so I need to make this sale. It has to be client focused. And for that to happen, we have to be in a healthy frame of mind when we're going into those meetings. So gaining that stability, gaining that clarity with the system and the process that we're going to put in place. So let's talk a bit about like what it is. It's kind of like we're talking about like this, ooh, what is it?
This is one of those like clickbait where we're going to say, oh, now to learn the system, book a call with us. We're actually going to walk you through what we do and how to set it up for yourself. The first step is to have separation between your business and personal. It is essential to implement this system, but it's also critical to not make your life a shit show down the road and to not pay more tax than you should be paying. So if you have your business and personal mix, you are going to miss expenses. Because you've missed those expenses, you are going to then not capture them on your taxes or with your bookkeeping. Business and personal mix makes bookkeeping a shit show. Bookkeeping in itself is something that most ADHD entrepreneurs hate. It's often the first thing they outsource.
Yes.
And separation for a separate account for your business and a separate credit card if you have the need to use a credit card in your business. It can be personal accounts, personal credit cards. This is, of course, going to vary depending on where you live and what the rules of your banks are. But when you're just starting out, being able to have those separations for your business, even if they are separate personal accounts and personal credit cards, that of course does not apply if you are going a different business structure other than a sole proprietor. I have since moved probably a year and a half ago to an official business account, an official business credit card. And one of the disadvantages there is that there's not a whole lot of good options in Canada that give you what you need for a reasonable price. So it's basically transaction based. So higher transactions, higher cost. So, and yeah, not a lot of good, solid options for business bank accounts that let you do all the things you need to do.
So when it comes to that process, different separate bank accounts, personal and business. And then I, from your teachings, even have business income, a VAL salary account, a business expense account, and a tax account. So.
And I have the same, except I also have a sales tax savings account.
Yes.
Because I do charge my clients that are Canadian HST or GST, depending on where they live. Mm-hmm. And a bonus account. Mm-hmm. We talked earlier about you made the decision to pause that to be able to allow you to outsource and bring in some help. And you get to make those decisions in your business and you get clarity on when to make those decisions and the impact of them because you get to see things clearly planned out. So full disclosure, the system that I use and that I teach my clients is a tweaked version of the system that's explained in the book Profit First. It's a great book. I love it. If you can get through reading a financial book, I highly recommend it. There's also more specialized versions now, which I haven't read any of them, but they have one specifically targeted at mental health professionals or estheticians or people in the beauty industry. So they've got lots of different targeted ones based on the type of business or profession. So highly recommend it, but don't worry, you don't need to, because I'm going to walk you through exactly what I do. So it starts with the business income account. So the only job of the business income account is to hold your business income. It is a placeholder. It's not doing any heavy lifting.
Catch all dollars, like whether, depending on what your income may look like catch all of your business dollars there.
And then from there, the money is distributed based on a frequency that you decide. So the official Profit First method recommends doing this on the 10th and 25th of each month and paying yourself, I think, on the 1st and the 15th. So there are specific days mentioned in the book, but this is one area that I've
totally flexible.
I've veered off. So I have clients that do this weekly.
Ah, yes, I'm a weekly.
I have clients that do this per transaction. So specifically around low volume, higher amounts, like real estate. They do
Makes sense.
Each time money comes in, it's usually like a one-off here and there, depending on how busy they are. I personally do it once a month on the last day of each month. And my reasoning for that is, why do it more when you can do it less? Because it works for me. And I do have the stability with the money in my different accounts.
Right. Once you have those reserves built up, then it's not as like pertinent to be like, I need to do this. Business account. Its job is to catch and hold all of the business income dollars. From here, they go and do different jobs for us. Let's talk about one of the jobs. What's one of the accounts that it can go to?
The most important account is your tax savings. So maybe this looks like a sales tax and an income tax. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't collect sales tax. Maybe you want to combine them all together. But not having money saved for taxes is one of the biggest things that derails an entrepreneur, because if you are killing it in your business and you have a high income year and you get hit with $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 in tax debt,
you didn't save,
you're going to be crapping your pants and overwhelmed and struggling to, like you said, get out of that hole.
And then the very easy answer is, I'm just going back to my job because someone else dealt with this for me.
Yeah. And being able to, I shit you not, be excited about getting your taxes done is entirely possible, because my goal with everybody that I work with is to have a little bit extra saved. So if we crunch the numbers and we think we need 22% saved for income taxes, we bump that up and we save 25% for taxes. So then maybe you have $2,000-$3,000 extra saved at tax time, and you know you've oversaved a little bit. So then you know when you get your taxes done and you see the amount that you owe, you then are crunching the numbers in your head. How much extra do I have? What am I going to do with that money? And I always recommend that you pay yourself a little bonus into your personal account, so you can be self-employed and still get an annual bonus and a quarterly bonus, which we'll talk about too. But getting excited about taxes is possible. I'm a money nerd, so I'm excited and I like doing my own taxes, but being able to know what the outcome of getting your taxes done and that there's a reward at the end of it is huge.
So catches in the business income can go into, or some of it will go into the income tax account. What's another account?
There's a lot. I love all the accounts, but the second favorite one is the salary account. So this is the account that you pay yourself out of. And it means that you're putting, and it's all based on percentages, based on your numbers. You are putting a percentage of your income into your salary account, and then you are paying yourself not based on the percentage that you transferred to that account.
No.
You're paying yourself a fixed salary from your business. So you get to decide the frequency. So I've decided, because my husband is paid biweekly, I've lined up my salary from my business to align with his, because it makes the personal side easier.
And that starts with like starting with the personal numbers to figure out what that number is. But I'm the same way. From our work together, when Travis gets paid, I get paid. So from my salary account into our personal account, we both contribute to it.
And I have clients that pay themselves once a week. I have clients that pay themselves once a month. It's all based on what works for you and managing it on the personal side. And yes, full disclosure, to fully implement this system, you need to have clarity around what you need to pay yourself from your business, what your business expenses are, get an idea of what your tax liabilities are going to be. And that can be overwhelming, but just starting, even though the percentages might not be quote unquote right, is better. So if you think you're going to need to save 20% for taxes,
that's just start with that one. Just a second account that you're putting 25%. If you think it's 20%, put 25%.
And you can find a lot of times, I know it's easier in Canada than some other areas, online tax estimators. So if you think you're going to have a business that has this amount profit, it can show you what your tax liability is. And the percentages in the system are all based off of the percentage of your business income. So a lot of times the barrier to saving for taxes can be, well, I don't know what my business expenses were for last month, last week. So I don't actually know what my profit in my business was. So I don't know what to save. So this eliminates that, because we're looking at saving a percentage of your business income to go into all these different accounts. So you don't actually need to know how much your expenses were for a specific period of time that you're putting money away for. So we talked about taxes. We talked about salary.
Business expenses.
And
we had originally, in my world, I had a big business expense and a monthly business expense. I did a rejigging 6 months ago where I just simplified a couple accounts. So now I have a business expense account. All good. That was just what worked for me. But for a while it was great, because then I had a monthly amount. I'm like, yep, this covers my monthly expenses. It builds a little bit of a buffer. Then my large expenses was for things like my license renewals, large annual renewals that come into play, my insurances. So that was great to have as well. I've just recently combined them. And I just know that it's business expenses. And when it does build up, I don't go, oh, what can I do with that? I go, oh, I've got annual expenses that come out. But having money that's set aside, and then I typically, a lot of them run off my business credit card. So then I transfer the funds from that account to my business credit card. It's set aside. It doesn't have to be like, oh, that's got to come out of my personal income. No, I take care of that as a business.
And what can benefit you doing that a lot of times is when you have business services that you subscribe to, a lot of times there's a significant amount of savings, like 20, 30% when you pay annually versus when you pay monthly. So lots of people, when you're starting out, you don't have that amount to pay annually. So you start by paying monthly. And that's where I started. And then I started transferring things to annually so that I could capture that savings.
You get like the 2 months free, pretty much. It's typically what it is.
Yeah. And I actually I don't know if it was intentional at the time, but my expenses are very heavy loaded towards the beginning of the year. So I'm paying a lot of those annual subscriptions earlier in the year. So I actually do my expenses a little bit differently. So it's all about those tweaks. So at the end of the month, when I'm doing my business transfers from my business income to all my other accounts, what I do is I put all of my expenses, aside from a few that maybe only have an e-transfer option, but that's few and far between. So all my business expenses go onto my credit card. And at the end of the month, my expense percentage, what happens is I pay off my credit card balance in full. So my business credit card I'm paying off in full. And whatever's left over goes into my large expense savings account. So I don't really have a small expense. It's just my credit card that I'm using month to month to put those charges on. And then when I get those annual subscriptions, it's coming out of my large expense.
Where do the dollars sit before they hit your credit card every month?
So they go right from my business income account to paying my credit card.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's just part of your monthly sit down. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of the timing, so my billing cycle for my credit card ends at the end of the month. So
you just clear it. Okay.
So if you don't have that situation, you can call your bank if you want to do something similar and ask them to change the billing cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I know my personal ones are in the middle of the month, and I don't know if it's intentional that my business one isn't, or if that was just a coincidence.
So those are like, to me, those are the three key ones. The bonus account was also really cool. I, in the last year, took away my bonus account, which was, it was like 5% of every dollar I earned went into here, which was awesome, because then I was like, oh, every quarter, Sherry's like, do something different, use it for something exciting. I'm like, oh, cool. What can we do with this? It changed because I brought on an employee, which was, to me, like tenfolds that bonus, just in a different way, because I'm like, oh, it's not like I'm putting money towards something like for me, but it is for me. So I took away that account, and I now have I just call it employee salary account that I divvy some funds into, and then there's an employee deductions account, but that's kind of into the weeds of it. The bonus account was very cool. It'll come back.
And the idea of the bonus account being something that you pay yourself. So the idea you start with a percentage, like even if it's 1%, it's still something, because it allows you to feel like a celebration of what you did in that quarter. And paying yourself that bonus quarterly is frequently enough that it's exciting and motivating for you to grow in your business, but it's also infrequent enough that it doesn't just end up covering your day-to-day expenses on the personal side. So it gives you that mix of, it's a nice little amount. Sometimes it's going to be really small. And what I hear a lot is, well, I'm just starting out, especially if it's a retail business, I don't have any money to put into my salary account. I don't have any money to save for taxes. Everything's going back into my business. And what I recommend there is to still set the system up and still have really small percentages going to the other things, and paying yourself a salary as soon as you can, even if it's really small. It sounds stupid, but if you can pay yourself $10 a week, $10 every 2 weeks, $50 a month, what it does is it starts to show you the reward for your hard work, but it also allows you to start implementing the systems and building the habits of doing this, because it's important that as your business grows, as you have more profit, you can increase your salary. And something I really like about the salary account is that it gives you clarity around when is it time to give yourself a raise.
Yes, like you can increase your salary, or you can just increase your comfort knowing that, like, oh, I've got 4 months of salary, I've got 6 months, I've got a year's worth. Okay, and at what point do I give myself that raise, right?
Long before a year's worth. I like a 4-month tipping point. And this is going to vary depending on if there's seasonality to your income. So if you own a landscaping company and you have 6 months of salary in your account and it's September, you are going to make different decisions than if you have 6 months of salary in your account and it's April. Everyone is going to make different decisions around the indicators that they're going to use to give themselves a raise. So what I suggest is having these indicators, thinking about the seasonality and the variability in your income. If you have a pretty consistent income month to month, maybe it's 2 months you want to be able to have in your account. If there's inconsistency, maybe it is 6 months, depending on your business structure. You're going to see how much your income varies month to month and be able to make a decision on that. So I know we've probably rambled about the different things,
but the highlights: business and personal separate, business income account, that's our holding cell, and then landing places. And in our next episode, we are going to deep dive into an actual example with true numbers and structures. And knowing that, like, it's all flexible, I'll say. So draw out, like, even I'm a very visual person, like, draw out, okay, my dollars land in my business account. What else is important to me? A salary to pay myself from. Yes. Taxes. Yes. What else shows up in your business? If you're a landscaping company, is there something like, I need to plan for, if my, like, it's business expenses, but like, okay, what if my snowplow doesn't work in the winter, right? Like, to think of these things for your business, like the what ifs for the good, the what ifs for the protection.
Yeah. And what people are going to have as goals. So for myself, I don't have big expensive supplies that I buy. I have a computer, which is probably going to be the biggest thing physically that I'm going to need, and it's not going to be something that I need to do every year. But if you have a service-based business that needs a snowplow, a trailer, a truck, you're gonna make different decisions and have different goals. So this system can work for everybody. It's just finding what works for you and breaking down those percentages. And what I find is a big motivator too, when you're an entrepreneur, specifically an ADHD entrepreneur, because we can get focused as fuck when we have clarity, is when I meet with a client and we set up your percentages, the clarity that comes from this is having here's what you need to make in your business to pay yourself the salary that you want to pay yourself and cover all the other expenses in your business, including saving for taxes, to have the life that you want on the personal side.
And it's kind of cool to break that down to like, how does it go? Good, great, best. To be like, okay, here's what I need to cover things. Okay, if I want to have a full-time staff, here's that next level. And here's that next level of like my ideal income versus like my needed income. Yeah. So to bring that clarity and like help bring that vision to life instead of being like, oh, I want to make 6 figures. Okay, why do you want to make 6 figures? And where is that 6 figures going to go? Because that's like a big flashy thing. So to really tailor it to your life.
Yeah, and to be able to have those different goals from the personal side. So that's often how we start. So what are your necessities and what does that look like from a business income perspective to cover? And then what is your bougie budget where you want to have, maybe it's big chunks of money going for travel. Maybe you want to upgrade your home. There's different goals and you have a starting point and then you just go from there. So quick summary, all your income goes into a business income account and then it's divvied up based on your frequency. So I recommend weekly to start and then having a goal to stretch it out if that's something you want to do. So the money goes into a salary account, an expense account, a profit or bonus account. Did I say taxes already?
Not yet, but it's okay.
And a tax account. So, or maybe a sales tax account and an income tax savings account. Okay, so in the practice of full transparency, here is the exact percentages that I do. So I save because I don't have a lot of business expenses that are Canadian based. So I'm not charged HST or GST on a lot of them. I decided to kind of oversave in my sales tax savings account. So the first thing that I do is I save 13% of my income. And then what is left after I take off that 13% is then what I distribute to my other account. So it's a little different. So I'm currently transferring 59% to my salary account, 17% to my business expense account, 4% to my profit account, and 20% to my income tax savings account. So heavy on the salary because I have a low cost business because I'm a service-based business that doesn't need a lot of fancy things. So
mine is, I like my even numbers. So I do 40% to salaries, 20% to business expenses, 20% to taxes, and 20% to employee salary. So I took my tax savings down when I hired an employee because I knew my expenses were going up dramatically. So it's like 40, 20, 20, 20 to make our 100.
So then my percentages probably gave you a little
tweak, but I know you also use a calculator where I just take the number and I just divide it by 20 and then anyways.
Yeah, probably not surprising that I have a spreadsheet and every month at the end of the month, I plug the exact balance in my business income account and it spits out based on the percentage what the specific amount that I need to put in each account. And so it's easy.
To be fair, I lived off of your spreadsheet until I just got a bit more comfortable just being like, I can remember these numbers, but my training wheels were your spreadsheet to be like, this. Yeah, perfect. So,
and I I don't make huge changes, but I make changes based on like little tiny numbers. So
you're like, I'm going to put 2% over here instead of that.
Yeah, 2% here, 2% there, an extra 2% into your salary account, an extra 2% into your tax account or your bonus account.
Living.
Yeah, it really allows you to have that flexibility and, have longevity as an entrepreneur, because we as ADHD individuals excel in entrepreneurship. There's a high percentage of us that are entrepreneurs because we have that flexibility, and it just allows us to take out a lot of the negative things of being an entrepreneur, because variable income is one of the biggest challenges as an entrepreneur, and this system just takes it all away
completely. But if you think of the variable income as a roller coaster, it just gives it a bit more of a plateau.
Yeah. The income doesn't stop varying.
No.
But the system,
our cash flow and our system.
Yes. Yeah. It's all about cash flow on the business and the personal side, because cash flow is important. So being able to put this system in place, like I said, it's easier from the get-go.
Yeah.
But if you are a seasoned entrepreneur and you do have some tax debt that you're working towards, like, these percentages are going to look a lot different, heavier on percentage to taxes, and that will likely mean different spending decisions in your business and different spending decisions on the personal side to allow you to make the pivot to get ahead of that and get from the hole to ground level, I guess.
Yeah. And in our next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go through this in more detail and more of an example. So then you can live it with us and work your numbers through as we go through it.
I'm gonna share the spreadsheet that I work with clients. I'm gonna create a simplified version of it so we can walk through exactly what that looks like. And specifically, the one is how do you get to that tax percentage number as a percentage of your income and not your profit. So I'm going to geek out on the spreadsheet and share it with you as we go through it and be able to talk about different decisions and how you find those starting percentages. So I'm glad you've been here. We've been talking about doing this episode for a long time, and I know I don't want you to leave feeling overwhelmed, but I know that that's a big possibility, and that's why we're going to back this up with another episode that's more of a hands-on to be able to see this play out in real life, because it's important to have that real life example that you can see to know that it's possible for yourself.
Absolutely. That was exactly my line. See how it's possible for you. So thanks for listening.
And we will see you next time, and we hope you have a great day.